Hey guys, we are working on the 882 today, and I thought I would cover a fairly common problem in Cub Cadets is the transmission fluid, the Hy-Tran, leaking out the bottom, and it'll leave a puddle, it'll come out the sides, out the back. And telltale sign number 2 is you'll see fluid kind of leaking out of odd places. It looks like you can see it streaming down the back of the fenders here where the dirt's stuck to it, right in through there. And then a real dead giveaway is up here on this tunnel cover, this piece right here. And you can see right there, it's just coming out all around there. That is most likely the release valves. Inside this, below this fender pan, are two hydro release valves. Basically what they do is they allow you to move the machine when it's not running. It'll release pressure off of the system, and it'll allow you to push it, small distances, a few feet, 10 feet. So what the valves do is, like I said, they release pressure and allow that to happen. Otherwise, you couldn't get it to budge at all. These valves go bad. There's an O-ring inside them, and they do tend to wear out over time. And a new replacement valve, I don't know the prices on both of them, but they can be $175 just for one valve. You can also have them repaired. There's a few places. There's a guy on eBay, maybe even a couple, that actually repair the valves. They're not really serviceable for the everyday Joe unless you're pretty good with and set up with like a lathe and a welder, and can really do smaller machine work. It's not really even a do-it-yourself kind of a thing unless you're kind of really pretty handy. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull off the seat in the fender pan. A lot of people think that's kind of a big deal on these machines. It's actually really easy. You lift the seat here, and this is pretty much the same for almost all these models. You can see in that picture right there, there's only about, 7 screws, nuts and bolts. And then up front, there's just 3 right here on each side, and really this comes off once you've done it a few times. You can have this seat pan off in less than 10 minutes. So I'm going to pull this pan off right now, and we'll get a look at these valves and confirm that that's what's leaking. Okay, got the seat off, and now another thing you want to unplug is the rear taillights, because if you start pulling this pan off, and it takes a little bit of twisting and maneuvering to get it off, then you'll have the wires hanging you up. So pull those off now. The one on the right, as you can see right there, that's got a puddle on top of it, so that is the guilty party. You can also see the galley kind of around it there. If you're still unsure about where the fluid's coming from or which valve's doing it, if you suspect the valves, a real simple thing to do is just take a rag, wipe off the tops of both valves, and then just simply push it forward a few feet, and then pull it back to you a few feet, and then just wait, about 30 seconds. And you can see right here in this shot, no doubt about it, that the right one's leaking. You can see it you can see it right now. It's just leaking away. Now, before you pull this valve completely out, you loosen it up a little bit and then back it out a few threads. Go ahead and get your rag, and let's wipe around the whole area. If you try to pull this valve out, you can see right there, look what I came out with. That is likely to fall down into your transmission, down into your hydro pump. So as you're backing this thing out, just kind of keep your rag going, and just kind of collect all the junk that comes out. So we'll just thread it a few times here, and we'll just keep wiping around. This is not the one I had repaired. This is the one that I thought might last a little bit longer. Like I said, these things are ticking time bombs. They are going to go off. They are going to leak. It's just a matter of time. These O-rings have gotten tired. And the bad thing about buying a used one from eBay is that you're buying a used one. It's probably already got 20 years of service in it. It just happened to not start leaking yet. It's going to leak. So my advice is to stay away from the used ones. They can get pretty ridiculous prices for them, and I think everyone's kind of figuring out now that it's not the way to go. So even though this valve looks pretty good on the outside, I'm going to go ahead and package this one up and send it in because it's time for a rebuild. You can look around here and it does not have the welds. So the one I had rebuilt is over there. One other thing I wanted to look at on this valve, supposedly there was a Cub Cadet dealer that had an official write-up from the factory on how to repair these valves in the field or cheaply, and that was to take JB Weld and seal up the hole that's in the top. Well, this person that had this before, as you can kind of look at it here, they actually, and I've ground it off, but they actually took a welder and tried to weld that hole in. That's really not what you want to do. You do not want to seal up something that was meant to be operable like this. Supposedly you can do that to keep it from leaking. The downside is that the machine is no longer movable under, you can't push it anymore. Once you've done this, either the reverse or the forward capability of pushing it by hand, will be lost. So if you break down somewhere, you're going to be stuck until you can get the seat pan off and pull the valve out and then move it. It's just not a good situation, and I don't like to JB Weld anything. So in part 2, we will get the valve rebuilt and reinstalled in here, and hopefully my machine will quit leaking all over the place. That's been a real pain to deal with, but that's what you kind of have with these older tractors. They're worth it, but you gotta be the kind that likes to tinker with these things, and luckily I am. So we'll cover the rest of this in part 2. Alright guys, we're back on the Cub Cadet today, part 2 of our valve replacement. The guy that rebuilds these on eBay, at least the one that I used, is lightning quick. Today valve showed up in the mailbox, so we are ready to put this thing back together. I've got the fenders. Okay, we've got the old valve pulled out here. Now let's just take a look at the new one that's coming in, or the rebuilt one, and just kind of see what we're looking at. Now if you'll notice, look on the end there, you can see right there, this end cap here has been pulled out, and all the parts inside, there's a spring and several O-rings and whatnot, have all been replaced, and they've been replaced with Hy-Tran oil or O-rings, which is a better grade and a longer lasting grade than what you can just go get, which you're likely to find at your Ace Hardware. So that's another thing that's good about having these things rebuilt by someone that knows what they're doing. They use the right parts. But like I said, if you see on the end there, this end has been pulled off, and then you can see tiny little, I don't know if he uses TIG welding or MIG welding, but these have been spot welded back on there. And like I said, if you attempt to do this on your own, just be warned that if you don't get a good weld on there, one, it can interfere with the action of this valve as it goes down into the hydro pump. It can't stick down, and it can't have too much of a weld. You can't have a big old 1/4 inch glob of weld sitting there. And then if you don't do it properly also, this end can theoretically pop out, and then you got it down inside your hydro pump. So kind of make sure you know what you're doing before you attempt these. I'm not set up with a good lathe, and my welder is down, so I just decided to have these things built. So the guy did a great job, and let's go ahead and let's get this thing going back in the old machine here, making sure you're not knocking a bunch of dirt. And that really is all there is to this. When you're putting these in, you do not need to crank them really hard. Kind of think in the terms of a spark plug. So I'm pretty much there right now, and I'll just go ahead and just give this one last little, and there we go. That's really all you need. So we are installed there, and let's fire it up and see if it doesn't leak. We are looking good. Alright, I've pushed it across the garage about 3 feet or so, and you can look right there. We're looking good, so we should be all repaired on this for a while. Okay, I've got the seat and fender assembly back on. One thing to remember before you fire it up and head out the door with it, go ahead and check your Hy-Tran fluid. Mine was low. They've been leaking while they're parked and while they're running, so chances are they're going to be low. Let's fire this thing up.